Hi friends, it's your buddy Matt, the global ergonomist from TuMeke Ergonomics, here to talk with you this evening about environmental ergonomics, which is the fourth of our overlapping Venn diagram. One in particular that I wanted to share with you was heat management, or more accurately, hydration and heat management. When I worked as the on-site physical therapist and ergonomist for a big, dirty, dangerous paper mill in North Florida with 1,300 employees, that particular mill was located equidistant between the birthplace of what you might call sports hydration technology, otherwise known as Gatorade, my alma mater in the University of Florida, and a town equidistant from that in the opposite direction you might know as Jacksonville. And that was the town where the heat index was invented back in 1978 by a locally famous meteorologist on the 6 o'clock news named George Winling. And George, at that time, found the concept of wind chill. This was back in the 70s. Wind chill was pretty new. And so George found that concept fascinating. And he thought, I wonder if we could do that with heat and humidity. So he came up with something by 1978 called humiture. And it took into account both heat and humidity. So from there, the National Weather Service wound up adopting it, and we know it now as our heat index. So this is North Florida. And this paper plant was situated between where the heat index was invented and where Gatorade was invented. What does that tell you about what kind of place it was to work? One of the hottest places you can imagine, because as we both know from the literature and from basic physics, we cool our bodies mostly from sweating and evaporation. But if you're in environments that are close to your body temperature, plus they happen to be of a high humidity, you're not evaporating anything, and it's very easy to overheat. So we had an environment where we had to pay exceptional attention to that, especially around March and April, when temperatures were already starting to rise again. Remember, this is North Florida. So we adopted a whole host of hydration programs and ideas and concepts for our workforce. Everything from weigh-in and weigh-outs, just like in sports. There's an old adage, a pint a pound. So if you get on a scale at the beginning of a shift, and then you get on a scale at the end of the shift, and you've lost poundage, that's water weight. And roughly a pint will help gain it back each pound. Things like that. We also adopted something called haymaker's punch, which goes all the way back to the Greeks, like Galen and Hippocrates back in the original Olympiads. They used to boil down vinegar to make a syrup, kind of like a vinaigrette is done. And anyway, that syrup then they would mix like a teaspoon, tablespoon, whatever, in a tall vessel of water. Also a little bit of honey too, so glucose, and then a little bit of salt. Essentially, they were making Gatorade back then. That idea followed agrarian cultures around the world, the Western world, and in the northeast of the United States, they called that switchel, and they used apple cider vinegar and molasses for the same idea. Down south and out in the Midwest, they made something similar called haymaker's punch. They often used, it might be a cider vinegar or some type of vinegar that was easy to find, along with molasses or sorghum syrup, something like that, and salt, which gives us the old saying, you got to make hay while the sun shines. Where did that come from? Well, if you ever tried to mow wet grass, you realize it doesn't go very well. So you need a hot, dry day to cut hay. And the haymaker's punch that you may have seen someone throw a big wide punch, that comes from using that big scythe. All this comes together to explain some of the cultural history of environmental ergonomics. And this is something that we adopt in our work settings, like big, dirty, dangerous paper mills or anywhere we work. Ergonomics takes on environmental concerns as well. So I hope you found that story a little interesting. And if you find that you'd want to engage, feel free to leave some comments below. We're always interested in hearing more. So until next time, this is your buddy Matt, the global ergonomist from TuMeke Ergonomics, reminding you to ask yourself always, what are you working on today? See you next time, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.